And we are now live. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So just start it off. Basically, I ask this to pretty much everyone that comes on. Is to just obviously introduce yourself. Tell the people that are going to be listening about your background and what you do.
Okay, my name is Bi Nguyen, and people call me Killer Bee, and I am Vietnamese American, living in America, soon to be residing in Asia, and I fight for one championship.
Okay, brilliant. So, why did you start fighting for one championship? What was the drive there?
Specifically for one,
Yeah.
as an amateur, I've always wanted. I've always been intrigued by one and their um, core values as a company and um, how many events they have. And of course, being a smaller fighter, I've always been interested in competing against the best, and I always thought the best atom weights were at one championship. But of course, living in America, I also had UFC dreams of just competing on the big stage here where I reside, because so many people that have invested in my career, like my original fans and my coaches and my training partners are all here. So I wanted to perform in front of them. But one championship came by chance. They hit me up after one of my world title bouts, and the rest was history. And I think that just like everything else in my life, it's really just been meant to be. One championship has been kind of like a perfect fit for me.
When did you know that you wanted to fight and kind of make it like competitive, like a competition element for yourself? Because obviously there's people out there that go and do boxing or MMA, but they never want to compete. When did it kind of strike you for yourself where you were doing like your amateur fights and you were going, do you know what? I want to turn pro. This is kind of the dream for me. This is what I want to
I
do.
I think I knew right away because I think there's a lot of different situations and reasons why people are hesitant, and totally makes sense. But like people that have families or other jobs, they have to, weigh the options and see if they're ready for this journey. Which, forewarning, right now, MMA is probably the toughest sport route you can go. So make sure you really, really do want it because it'll take everything out of you and your loved ones. Um, but it was easy for me because I had nothing. I was by myself getting out of a really abusive relationship, and I turned to Muay Thai for self defense and just something for me to do, to distract me from what was going on. And it just so happens like the coach saw a lot of talent in me, and at that moment Misha and Rhonda were fighting in Strike Force, and Gina and Cyborg just fought. So people were starting to say, women might make it in the sports. Coaches were starting to vie for female athletes. So I took one fight, and the rest was history. I was committed. It got me like a drug.
Yeah, that well, it's the same for a lot of people. For me, I went and did. I do Jiu Jitsu. I'm not very good, but the first sort of few sessions I went, that was it. The bug
Yeah.
hit me. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm rolling around on the mat with men. It's difficult positions, men and women, but we're in funny positions,
Yeah.
and people are like, why do you want to do that? And I'm just like, come try it,
Yeah.
and you'll understand why. And it is that bug and that sort of
Yeah.
competitive element, which I think you only know it once you kind of do it, I guess.
Yeah, because it stimulates you in more ways than, it stimulates you in all ways. It challenges you physically, mentally, emotionally, because you got to put that shit in check,
Mm.
because if you're emotional, you're gonna get your ass kicked, and mentally, you just gotta show up every day, and physically, obviously, for obvious reasons. So it's like it's for people who want to challenge themselves. That's really the place to do it, the mat.
How do you deal with like nerves? Because I assume you get nerves like most people before you go out and compete. How do you kind of channel that and manage to kind of keep composed when you walk down there? Because if it was me, I'd probably walk halfway and be like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Um, it's different in different I don't know, parts of your career. In the beginning, the nerves are different because it really depends on where you're emotionally invested, just like anything else. So if you're a fighter that's emotionally invested in your coaches and wanting to prove to make them proud, that's where your nerves are going. You know, like make sure I don't lose or do anything that embarrasses my coach. Um, if your emotional investment is in the fans, same. If your emotional investment is in your ego, your record and getting a belt, it depends on where it is. But one way I deal with it, some people sleep it off. Some people, zone out before fights. Me, I just keep it regular. I keep it like my fight week is just like any other day. It's different tasks that I have to do, but I just hang out. I joke around. I don't eat, but I eat with my coaches and we
Mm.
kick it. And that way I can save all of my energy and my nerves for fight day because I channel those nerves into my fight. So I want to save it all up. I kind of cherish the nerves, to be honest, because I think I had one about, it was my last one for King of the Cage. It was for the title and it was to rematch a girl I'd already beat. I had a bad cut. I was tired. It was fight after fight. Then I just filmed the show and then my dad just passed. So I was exhausted and I wasn't nervous at all. I was walking out like a zombie, fought like a zombie, and then when I finished it, I knew there was something wrong because I was like, "Oh, thank God that fight's over."
Mm.
Like I wasn't even sad I lost. I was just tired. Um, yeah, so I cherish the nerves, and I think people should. People should learn how to channel their nerves and should appreciate the nerves. Don't try to make the nerves go away. They're gonna be there, so you gotta, make the best of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think touching on that as well, it kind of gives you that added element to be ready to compete. Because, like you said, when you don't have those nerves, then you're kind of like in zombie mode, and you're not kind of there to. You turn up, you walk into the ring, and you're kind of just switched off. Whereas if you've got those nerves, it's kind of part of the fight process, I guess, to kind of
Hmm.
wake you up and be like, okay, it's game time now. Like
Yeah,
I'm buzzing, I'm excited, my adrenaline's through the roof, I'm nervous, but
yeah,
let's get going.
yeah, yeah. It's just like everything in life. I think that the components in nature don't change. It's just how you manage them and how you deal with them. So,
What motivates you to keep competing? So, kind of to
uh,
be the best, or just because you love it, you know?
I think you have to learn to look at yourself and to change because for me, what I mean by that is for me, my beginning reason of doing what I do was for me because I didn't have any kid. I just got out of a abusive relationship. I was by myself, and the first a couple of amateur fights was just like just unleashing my anger, and then proving to the world and proving to myself that I was somebody. And then I started losing. I was on incredible streak amateur. I mean, I killed it my amateur career, and then I was on a 3-0 streak my pro career, and then I lost two or three in a row. And I realized it was because I was complacent with myself. So that couldn't be my why anymore if I was to keep doing this sport. Um, so I did a little soul searching, and then one helped also to give me kind of help me realize that like now what I'm doing it for. So instead of doing it for me, now I'm doing it for that girl, whoever that may be. You know what I mean? Now I've really embraced the role of representation. Really, really embraced that because I never really knew, like when I was younger, I was like, it's me, Like who gives a shit what I'm doing and why I'm doing it for and like who really cares, right? But now that I'm older, I'm really embracing that responsibility. So now I fight for um, to get to that stage. Right now, I'm going for the gold. I'm going for the belt in one, but I'm not going for some stupid belt that I've lost half of my plaques because I'm not really attached to things, So I don't really care about the belt, but I really care about that representation and what it means to Vietnamese girls, what it
Mm.
means to girls, period, and then what it means to people that are imperfect and people that are trying to figure it out, because my record is not the best. People remind me of it online all the time. And I know. So if I could get to the belt, it means I didn't quit. It means that I'm just like everybody else. I didn't have like a perfect 10-0 record, and I'm not like, cuz people usually go, I can't be that person because they're a freak of nature, you know. There's
Mm,
really no excuse to say that with me. Cuz I've been through the ringer in my career, honestly. So, yeah, my motivation changes.
yeah. I mean, that's also an important factor that a lot of people can get disheartened about who are competing is those losses. And I think it shows kind of great character to an extent to feel what a loss is like and then to try and overcome it and to keep being persistent for that goal despite losing. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that will lose at something and they're like, yeah, I'm never playing that again, or I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it takes a lot of character for someone to then go,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep being persistent because this is what I want to do or this is what I want to represent.
Yeah. Because I think that when you look at people like, he's a friend of mine. I love him, John Jones, or GSP, or things like, or Anderson Silva. You start to look at something that you couldn't be. So
Mm,
they're pure entertainment, right? They're just entertainment. But I think that I want to be more than entertainment. I want to be somebody you can relate to, like I could be that person.
yeah.
Not to be corny, but I didn't have that, when I was coming up. So I hope now that the sport is even bigger, there needs to be a wider array of representation of what could be great and who is great and what great looks like.
Mm. Do you find that, in your opinion, you might be difficult to coach, or are you quite easy to coach? How does your coach
Huh,
sort
that's an
of
interesting
manage you?
question. That's an interesting question, and it depends on people. A lot of coaches would find me um, difficult to coach, depending on your style. Like me and the coach at CSA fell out, and it's not because he's not a good coach. We didn't match. He is he has a formula, and he knows it works, but I don't fit into any formula, and I want to collaborate with my coaches, and that's okay too. So I like, I've worked really hard and I'm a professional and I've learned a lot of things, and I would like to think that those lessons count for something. And I think that what would make a great um, competitor and is getting the perspective from the outside, which is the coach, and then getting the perspective from the inside.
Mm,
And I think that would be the most effective way and the most enjoyable way for me to compete and to get through camp. Because damn, people don't realize the fight is 15 minutes, 25 if you're going for main event. The camp is 8 weeks. If I can't get through camp with you, I wouldn't even care if you were the best coach in the world to get me through the corner. I need to get through that 8 weeks with you and feel valued
mm,
and feel like I enjoy the process. I think that's very important. So a lot of people ask me questions all the time about what's the best gym, and I tell them all of them. Even like CSA, I left CSA, but Kieran's amazing. There's good coaches all over the world. It's what suits you and brings out the best in you, and not everybody can do that.
yeah. In the sense of like, also for your personality in technique wise, like for me, if I'm competing or in anything, I don't
Yeah,
like praise. So for me, it's like, yeah, well done, you've done 5 minutes. We need another round. Some people like that.
yeah,
I like,
yeah,
you've done 5 rounds, but you can do better because right now you're at 80%. Let's get that 100%. And I'm like, right, I'm going to prove you, and I'm going to push even harder. What sort of style do
yeah.
you think you fit into? Is it more kind of you're doing really well, keep going, or is it more of a come on, let's push? Like you're not doing the most you can do, or is it dependent on the day?
Um, it depends on the person for sure, but not just who you are, because you're not just the same person. I'm ever evolving. When I first started out, I started out with Bob Perez, amazing coach. He's the coach for Lauren Murphy and Derek Lewis, the Black Beast now. Um, he was very like ramped up, like he pumped me up. He reminded me of why I did things, why I was working so hard. He pushed me emotionally because I needed it then when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I just need technique.
Mm.
I'm super balanced in my emotion, and I don't need anything to shift that in the fight. Um, so I just need technique, pure technique, and that's it. I need to be reminded physically to breathe, and then straight technique, and that's it. Also, I like to have fun in the corner. Me and Alex Shield laugh in the corner all the time, but I'm really chill now. It's fun for me. So
I think that's what it's about as well, still having that fun element, and so it doesn't necessarily feel like work all the time, because otherwise, I
uh,
mean, who wants to work, right? Like, we'd all be quite happy being on
yeah,
holiday all the time, making money
yeah,
through whatever cause, just living life on holiday. That'd be great. But if you're turning up
yeah,
to train and it feels like work
yeah,
all the time, you
yeah,
want that balance of like, this needs to be fun, and I need to have a laugh every now and then. And then when
yeah,
I know it's showtime, it's showtime. I need to now put my performances in or spar well, because now it's
yeah.
game time.
Yeah, but it really depends. It's one of those things like when people are trying to give people at relationship advice, you don't know unless you're them. And if you
Mm.
talk to the other person, it's gonna be different than the other person. It's different. So I just had a conversation with Ariel Hawani about the last guy who was fought in the UFC. I didn't even see the fight, so I wanted Ariel and them to know, like, first of all, I didn't see the fight. I just want to offer a different perspective. We can't just attack the coach right away because we don't know what their dynamic is like. I only because I see too often fans and um, journalists jump right on. Your emotion. I feel it. You care for the fighter. It's natural, but you got to think there's different scenarios. Like one of my teammates. I don't want to tell her business, so I don't want to say her name. But in our conditioning, we're doing conditioning together, and she's not performing. She's like not even there, and the coaches have to push her, and she constantly out loud says, "I can't, I can't, I can't," until they push her, and this monster comes out, and this girl just destroys it. And then here goes me. I'm just pacing the entire time. Nobody's even paying attention to me because I'm just chill, like I take away the emotion. So there are different, and she's undefeated. She's a phenomenal fighter. So there are different things, and those are the same coaches, and different fighters just need different things.
Mm.
Now there are some fights where fighters are getting blasted. That's different, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. It's not one size fits all. This is not that kind of sport.
Yeah. What do you do for fight preparation, like for yourself? So, camp wise, strength and conditioning wise, and then kind of getting yourself ready to be at your maximum, like your best level for performance.
So basically, what I do, obviously, it's different opponents, and right now, at this high level, it gets specific, you know. So, um, we first sit down and watch together. That's like our first private. Is the coaches sit down and watch together. Then we obviously respect each other's professions, like strength coach, the striking coach, and the jiu-jitsu coach. Hickman does everything. George Hickman does everything, but with strength conditioning, Woody's gonna say this and this, and that's where I get my piece to collaborate, and then I tell them what I think that I need, for myself. And so every camp is different, but has the exact same foundation.
Hmm.
So every camp starts with a discussion. Then we go and I plan out my schedule in the beginning, and I stick to it. We plan out our plan and we stick to it. So our foundation stays the same. It's just the variables change for each opponent. So my schedule changes, my routine changes. It all changes.
But you still have that kind of core foundation of things in place, like when you said to get together at the
Yeah,
beginning, and then maybe 4 weeks in, a little chat about
yeah.
what you need to work on a little bit more, or what you feel isn't working, and we change that, and that's based
Mhm.
on opponents and how you're feeling at the time, right?
Yeah, and I think that I've always been kind of a nomad. I've gone from gym to gym, trying to feel out personality and see if I click, and that's been my downfall because you can't have five heads for one fight.
Hmm.
So now that I love Tiger Muay Thai because at this place I have Shield, Hickman, and Woody come together. as one head, and so it's very cohesive, and it keeps me sane. I don't have to
Mm.
manage so much, you know. So
Yeah, because I can
yeah,
imagine that can be quite stressful, and then you're kind of not in that focused mindset because you're stressed about all these different heads that are going on. You know, five different people with
yeah,
different things. It all needs to kind of link into one system, and then from
yeah,
there, the ball can get rolling. And like anything, if you've got one thing and one system to follow, it's going to be
right,
a lot easier than five or six
yeah,
different things, right?
right. It's MMA. This is the most intricate sport,
Mm.
I would say, ever, and I've done a lot of different sports. Yeah, it's you gotta have it manageable, you know. So it's very cerebral. It's very mental.
And on the other side of that, what do you do to recover from a fight? You know, like mentally, and as well as physically, like ice baths and things like that, nutrition side of things, or do you just come out and you think, right, I'm free, I'm gonna go do what I want to do now to recover?
This is where I'm not much of a role model. I'm still struggling with the balance of it all because I'm so focused and I fight so much. I'm a very active fighter. If you look at my career, super active. So I rarely get a break, and my breaks are usually a week. So I'm like all out drinking, eating, partying for that 1 week, you know, because I don't get much. I have other responsibilities and other things going on in my life also. So I probably need to balance that a little more, a little better. But I will say I do feel better um, in my later career where I let myself take a break and I wasn't burning myself out. As far as physical, I'm very good at like using my resources and outsourcing, you know.
Mm.
So I just go to my doctors and I give him my body and what do you think I need to work on, and is my body okay, and do I get the green light, and that's it. I try to simplify as much as I can.
Yeah, it kind of you kind of touched on my other point there as well. Is like, do you struggle to kind of relax? Because a lot of competitive people that I've spoke to, they're always 100 miles per hour, and actually the challenge for them is
Yeah,
when they're told Sunday, you do nothing on Sunday. You know, you can stretch, but you do nothing, and
yeah,
they all kind of struggle with that. And I wondered if it was the same for yourself as well.
it has been for sure, especially with, you know, tell you age makes a difference too. When I was younger, I fought every 2 weeks. People thought that was just Thailand. I did it in America. I took amateur fights wherever, anywhere, tournaments. I fought all the time and I didn't give myself a break. And although my body was good, my mental wasn't, you know? So it's like kind of that reflection. You need that after a fight. I would say take a reflection day of where's your body at? Where's your mind at? What do you need? All right, I'm stressed. I need a fucking drink.
Hmm.
Or I'm sore. I need to lay down, need massage, you know? So you just got to kind of listen to yourself. When you're young, you're only taught one way is to push.
Hmm.
So you need
You
to learn
feel
to
you
push
feel
and pull.
invincible, right? When you're young,
Yeah.
like
Well, you want to because
yeah.
you have a chip on your shoulder. You're like, nah, I got it. Like rest day. What's rest day? Hashtag beast mode. Hashtag going ham. Hashtag I gotta show everybody I can do this. But the older you get, the more self aware you are. So it's really not that serious.
Have you ever taken do you ever take meditation like days or anything like that for yourself? Do you meditate, or is it
I
something that you're just
should.
like, nah?
No, I should. I'm never into anything that's like new, but I haven't had the guidance, so I should take up meditation. I should take up yoga. I'm a busybody, and the reason I run away from things like that is because like right now I'm struggling with the pandemic because I'm very bad when it comes. Idle time is really dangerous for me because it's new and uncomfortable. Like when I don't have anything to do, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And then it starts going crazy in my head. So I probably do. You know what? Now that you've asked me that, I should look up meditation while I'm in the situation because I always run away from it. Whenever I'm not busy, I find something to do and I get myself busy. That's always been me. But I should work on that.
Yeah, well, it's good for um, the best way I can describe it is like without all the noise and stuff, but it's like sitting by a main road and all these cars are going by and all these cars are your faults and you're aware of them for a second and then they just go by and you kind of just learn to just be peaceful in your own company and focus on your breathing, and it's quite relaxing. Do you know what I mean? Rather than that kind of, because I'm the same, like 100 miles per hour with thoughts. I'm like, I need to do this. I got days off work and I'm like, I'm going to go and do some work here instead, or I'm going to go see these people, etc., etc. And I think because I always want to do something, when I meditate, I end up going through like a phase of being able to just relax and chill and feel like I don't need to be always achieving something or going out or whatever. It's just like
Yeah.
finding myself a little bit and analyzing my own issues and my own
Yeah.
personality problems and stuff like that.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I need that. And I found it also when I was in Thailand because people would wake up at 9 a.m. and I'm up at 5 a.m., because I work here in America. I have a lot of projects going on. And and I realize America, we do a lot of this rat race thing and it's not that healthy.
No.
Am I like I read this book and it said move don't confuse movement with progress. Maybe I'm just moving. So maybe that'll help me. I definitely need to look into that.
Yeah. I'll give you some quick tips when we finish anyways for 2 minutes that might help you out.
Yeah,
If you
send
want
me send me some things.
to. How did it feel being on Survivor, like for yourself? Was you like, oh, this is
Oh,
mad? Like,
yeah. It was like, okay, so people need to understand that, like, this is, I think Survivor fans know this because they follow me and I've been authentic. But um I was trying to get away. I didn't know what the show was. I was recruited and my dad just passed, so I got the phone call that my dad died. The other line was Survivor, telling me I was gonna be, that they like it's done, like I'm going on this biggest reality show in the world. So I said yes because I was trying to get away. Although I don't, I'm never regretting it because I learned so much. But I'm just giving you perspective as when they dumped us there, and I can't really divulge the details, but the process of a real reality show, because there's some fake ones also that I've done that they do a lot of crap. But Survivor is real, so there's a lot of like things that have to go into it to keep the secrecy and to keep the authenticity. And it was just like, what in the world is happening? I don't know where I'm at. But I quickly adapted, and it was good.
hmm.
It was good.
Yeah, I mean that must be kind of very difficult for yourself because obviously you had that call about your dad, and then you're kind of, you know, where you
Yeah.
are, and you haven't even had time to maybe process shit really, and you're like, fuck,
Yeah.
I've got to now adapt and deal with this.
That's the thing. People that know me know about me. I'm really bad when it comes to toxic toughness. It's really bad because one, I'm Asian, and two, I've just been through so much. Is how I've built myself to be. But I got the call that my dad died. Went outside, bawled my eyes out, loud, ugly cry for 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minute. Came back in. Coach knows me so well, and he was like, "What's up?" I'm like, "My dad died." He was like, he gave a pause, and he was like, "Do you want to continue? Or what do you want to do?" I said, "No, let's keep training." I finished training, and this is after the Survivor call too. So I think that was my problem that I'm still learning now to unpack and process.
Mm,
I've been too tough for my own good.
yeah. What's your proudest achievement so far for yourself in anything? Not just in MMA and one championship and so on. What's been like? You can give me two. One in life and one in competing.
I think my proudest moment in life, and I mean everything is intertwined, because everything I have is a cumulative of everything I've done, fighting and all. But one of my proudest moments was I was invited to speak in front of a women's conference, an Asia, a specific Asian women's conference, and I spoke about my domestic abuse openly, in detail, and I spoke on the power of storytelling, and I did it for the first time with my mom in the front row. So my mom had never heard about my abuse, never
Mm.
heard about what happened. And the reason I did that was, if I was going to be telling people how strong it is and how I know how difficult it is to tell my story, I need to do it to the one person I've been avoiding. So that whole event was very moving for me. One, it ignited my passion in public speaking and realized like how powerful I am. Two, I finally told the story to my mom and then in front of the thing. And then after the speech, I had numerous numbers of girls coming up to me telling me about things that's happened to them they can't talk about. And now I continue to talk to them and they tell me that they've, just all of it was giving me power. All of it was, that was one of my biggest accomplishments I did for AAPI women's movement. And I think my biggest achievement fighting wise was my very first amateur fight. No, um, yeah, you know what? It was the very first fight because I got this offer. I was ill prepared for it. I didn't know. Oh God, awful! It's online, you guys. If you want to look it up on YouTube, it's disgusting fight because I didn't know how to throw a real punch. It was like my technique was like, oh, I watched it. I'm like, it's so bad. But one of the reasons I'm proud of it because one, I took it against a girl who had 6 fights and I retired her. That's how tough I was. And another is the promoter and the coach I had at the time told me I got the fight because I was pretty. And I was pissed the hell off, so I had a chip on my shoulder to show that I was more than that. And I think I did. And then I went on to being their champion for that promotion and headlining a couple times. So that's one of my proudest moments also.
Mm.
Yeah.
When you did your speech and you finally kind of spoke about it with your mum there, how did that feel? Did that feel like what kind of a relief off your like a relief, that weight off your shoulders? You're like, finally,
Yeah.
everyone knows, and then
Yeah.
you've got people coming and speaking to you, and you're like, and I can help these people because like
Yeah.
I've been through it, and I'm showing,
Yeah.
that things can change.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I think that's one of the it was really really validating for me because I have this serious case of imposter syndrome, and I don't know if people get it too, and I'm sure other people get it, but I get in positions in my life. I'm blessed to where people will think highly of me, or I'll be put in positions where I'm like, do people really care what I have to say? like like who the hell am I sitting here doing this? You know what I mean? Like, what the hell? I'm sitting here in front of a bunch of people, like, because I don't see myself that way. So it was really powerful for me to validate myself in order to myself, not through others, but to myself in order to further help people. And it's helping me kind of do better in that sense. And I'm doing a lot more work now. After that event, the work that I've been doing in for women has been way more efficient because now I don't have all that shit I'm holding myself back. You know what I mean? And and I think that it's yeah, it was great. It was hard too. The imposter syndrome is still healthy though because it keeps me authentic. If you look at like my social media or anything, I'm always trying to keep it real just because I'm trying to like make sure that I am who I
Yeah,
say I am.
yeah, I think that's it. I mean, you get a lot of false personalities on social media, and sometimes there's people portraying they're an absolute badass and a bit of a twat when they're not in real life. And I mean, Chow Sonnen, like I spoke to a guy that is really good friends with him, and obviously in his career he's been known as like the bad
Hmm.
guy, and he's always
Yeah,
portraying as a bit of a dick, but outside
yeah,
of all of that,
he's really
he's
cool.
one of the nicest guys, and you're kind of like, why are you portraying yourself like this on social media, man? Like, it's a product, you're
But
selling it.
he's in control. He's in control of that narrative. I think
Hmm.
there are some that aren't.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, like Kobe is not in control, obviously.
Yeah.
And then even some people who try and then they're like, what? But I think it really depends on who you are and what keeps you grounded. For
Hmm.
me, I don't know if I'll be grounded if I pretended to be somebody else for a year. I don't really trust myself like that. I haven't practiced that. I've always
Yeah.
been real, so I'm just gonna stick to what I know. I think if people asked me to be somebody else for a year just to sell tickets, which I know one would never ask me to do, I'd be like, ooh, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's why
no,
honestly I didn't sign with Ryzen when they offered. Their culture is different and they want you to embellish, and I don't know how to do that.
yeah, it's not for you basically, and
It's
it
not
would be
for me.
weird, right? It would be
Yeah,
weird.
it'd be like I'd have to walk out with a big bee suit and like, I don't know how to do all that.
Fuck that. I mean,
Yeah.
so who are your like idols and um kind of when you were starting, who did you aspire to be, or who did you look up to an extent?
I in the beginning, I mean, still, and luckily I've met these women and I've become family to one. But I look up to Gina Carano because she's authentic and she is transparent. When after the cyborg thing, she was really honest about how she felt, and you know, and she was confident that nobody, or nor did she care that anybody was going to judge her for feeling like shit after her loss.
Mm,
Um, Gina's the bomb, and I love her, and I know her, and she's great. And then, of course, one of my biggest mentors and one of my best friends is Michelle Watterson, because when I met her, she's really taught. I was, like I said, toxically tough. I was always like, all good, nothing bugs me, whatever. LOL, made jokes about myself and stuff. And then Michelle has really shown me how to be vulnerable and soft and kind, um, without you know having to perpetuate this toughness all the time.
mm.
And she's taught me a lot more. But yeah, Michelle Watterson's really, she's a lot more than people know, even though I know a lot of people love her, but she's even more than that. So yeah, Gina Carano and Michelle Watterson, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed chatting to Michelle, and I had a husband on at the same time, and we had a few
Yeah,
laughs.
Joshua's dope.
Yeah, he's so cool, man. I messaged him on Instagram a fair few
For
times when
Father's Day.
yeah, when
Oh,
he had his hair, when his daughter, I can't remember her name, it's like Aria or Aya, I can't say it.
oh,
He was like
Araya.
shaving his head, and I was like, I
Yeah.
messaged him, I was like, you still look good, mate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
cute. They're
yeah,
cute. I love that family. I lived with
um,
them for a while.
oh, did you? How was that? Like,
Yeah.
obviously a nice experience, I can imagine. But did you pick up?
I mean, we're just like family.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's cool that you can kind of have that um experience. You know what I mean? Like to feel like a member of the family, because there's a lot of people out there that would invite you in, or you'd live with them, and they kind of just still treat you like you're kind of on the outside a little bit.
Yeah, because there's some people that help you to be the person that helped you, and then
Mm.
some people help you for you to be better. So, and there's a
Um,
lot of people like that in MMA.
so my last question for you is sort of your future plans and the current goals you've set.
Yeah, so I'm trying to stay on them, this damn pandemic. But my goal is to, I've already made the adjustments to move to Asia. Um, my goal is to not just ignite the interest of MMA like we did in that event and in Vietnam, but I want to be a part of the growth there. So I want to go there and start assisting and helping and doing whatever I can as a representative or a teacher to spread the sport of MMA in Vietnam. And then for me personally, this year I think I've always dealt with losses, ups and downs gracefully, but I know what I can do. Um, I know how good I really am. So I'm going to chase for the belt because I know I'm that good. I just need to put the work in to make sure everything comes together
Mm.
to where I can show that. So yeah, my short term goals, not even long term because it's not too far away, is the belt, one championship atom weight belt, and to be a part of MMA growth in Vietnam.
Good goals.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. It really has. Um,
Thank you.
basically the floor is yours for the next 2 minutes to advertise yourself, shout out anyone you want, and say where anyone can find you or contact you to chat with you, basically. If you want, if you don't want it, that's cool.
Okay. Yeah. So during this pandemic, I've gotten. I mean, even beyond before, I've gotten a lot of requests to for me to help them with technique. I guess the way I teach resonates with people. And so I didn't know that the demand was so high. Thousands and hundreds and thousands of you guys have reached out to me. So I am in the process of starting Killer Bee Academy. It is trademarked, is in the process. I'm recording many, many, many videos for you guys. So these are for people who are too busy to actively go into the gym, or for people who live in rural areas that don't have gyms, for people who live in countries that don't have opportunities and chances and money to go train with great coaches. This is what Killer Bee Academy will be for you. And yeah, I just encourage everybody to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And if you do, I encourage you to get to know me and follow everything and not just the aesthetics, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but yeah, and so for those who don't know, One Championship is on their app worldwide, so you can see my fights, and you don't have to wait for YouTube. A lot of my fans all over the world are like, "Where do we see your fights?" I'm like, they're live, and you can catch them on the app. So just download the app and follow me. And there's articles, and one keeps up a bunch of stuff. So yeah, follow
Yeah.
along.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time. I'll chat with you for 2 minutes off of this if
Thank
that's cool with you.
you.
But yeah, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Cool. And that is pretty much done.